Well, hey friends, and welcome back to Equipped for Worship. Now, before we jump in, just a quick note. I know we're still a couple of weeks away from kicking off Season 3 officially, but winter doesn't really care about podcast schedules. And this one felt like one of those conversations that needed to happen now while it's fresh and real. Season 3 is coming soon, and I'm really excited about it, but today I wanted to just sit down with you and talk through something we all face sooner or later. Especially if you live anywhere that knows what a back road looks like after a snow. If you're listening to this in January, chances are snow is somewhere in your forecast. And when snow shows up, it brings a familiar tension for church leaders, pastors, worship pastors, tech leaders, deacons, all of us. You start watching the weather. You refresh the radar. You check road conditions. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you start praying and asking, Lord, what's the right call here? So today we're going to talk about that decision, to cancel or not to cancel church when snow and road conditions are becoming unsafe. Not as a rule book, not as a lecture, but as a conversation between people who care about the local church and want to shepherd people well. Let's dive in. One of the reasons this decision weighs so much is because it's not just logistical. It feels spiritual at times. We believe in gathering. We believe worship matters. We believe Sundays matter. So when weather threatens the gathering, it can feel like more than an inconvenience. It can feel like we're failing or backing down or not being faithful enough. But Scripture doesn't let us separate spiritual faithfulness from practical love. Jesus ties the greatest commandments together in Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 through 39. He says this, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind." And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. That means loving God and loving people are never competing priorities. You can't say, I love God, while ignoring the well-being of the people He's entrusted to you. And that's why this decision is so heavy, because it's about people. It's about the 82-year-old saint who will try to drive no matter what. It's about the family with young kids who might not want to be, quote unquote, those people who stay home. It's about the volunteer who will say, I'll be there, even if wisdom says they shouldn't. And if you're a worship leader, worship pastor, you feel an extra layer of weight because you know what went into the service. You know the rehearsals, the preparation, the sacrifices. Canceling doesn't feel neutral. It feels personal. So if you've ever felt that knot in your stomach when snow shows up, I just want to say that doesn't mean you're weak. It means you care. Okay, let me make this personal for a moment. Back on December 14th, my pastor and I had to make this decision. And it just wasn't any Sunday. This was the day our choir was supposed to present our Christmas cantata. Weeks of rehearsals, adults, teens, kids, extra practices, extra heart, extra time. And if you've ever led a choir through a big seasonal presentation, you know it's not just music on a paper. It's people giving their evenings, their attention, their best. It's families rearranging schedules. It's volunteers showing up tired but willing. And then the snow rolled in. That night, Brad and I were on the phone. It felt like all night, but we were on the phone more than once, talking through what we were seeing, what we were hearing, what could happen overnight. We weren't trying to be dramatic. We were trying to be responsible. We asked questions like, what if the roads get worse while people are trying to get here? What about the folks who live out on the back roads? What if someone feels pressure to come and ends up in a ditch? And eventually, late that night, we made the call. We were canceling services, which meant we were also postponing the cantata to the next Sunday, pushing it to the 21st. I posted on social media and our website that night about the cancellation. I also texted my choir and worship band around 9 o'clock, which I never do. But this was one of those moments where clarity mattered more than my usual boundaries because people needed to know. The next morning around 8 a.m., Brad sent out an all call and all text to the church so nobody missed it. And then we decided to still do a live stream. Brad and I met at the church and we streamed worship, just the two of us. No band, no choir, no tech team. Just Brad and myself doing everything, setting up, running it, leading it, tearing it down. Now, did we question whether we made the right decision? Of course we did. That's normal. If you've never second-guessed a cancellation call, either you're way more confident than I, or you're not human. But here's what we came back to. Did we make the right decision for our church family? Yes. Because we weren't trying to preserve a schedule, we were trying to shepherd people. Let's look at some biblical principles and some wisdom. Jesus says in John 10:11, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. You see, a shepherd protects, a shepherd guides. A shepherd doesn't drive sheep into danger to prove toughness or to keep appearances. And in Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3, it says, the sensible person sees danger and takes cover. The inexperienced keep going and are punished. That verse doesn't praise recklessness. It praises wisdom. Sometimes canceling isn't fear. It's discernment. It's recognizing danger and choosing care. And I think that's an important point. There's a difference between faith and testing God. Faith is trusting God while acting wisely. Testing God is walking into avoidable danger and demanding He rescue us to prove a point. If anything, the New Testament shows that wisdom and love are marks of maturity. Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4 says this, do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look not to his own interests, but rather to the interests of others. That is a leadership verse. That's a verse that shapes how you and I make calls like this. Not what do I prefer, but who will be affected and how can I care for them? And when we don't know what to do, look at James chapter 1, verse 5. It's not a cliche verse, it's a lifeline. Now, if any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given to him. You see, sometimes the best prayer isn't a long prayer. Sometimes it's, Lord, give us wisdom to love people well. Over the years, I've learned that the question you start with shapes the decision you make. A lot of us start with, can we still meet? But that question naturally centers the event. A better question might be, what decision best loves our people today? That question slows you down. It gets you out of the keep the machine running mindset and into a shepherd mindset. It makes you think about the people who won't speak up, the ones who feel pressure to come because they don't want to be seen as uncommitted. It makes you think about people who will come no matter what, not because they're reckless, but because they're faithful. And sometimes faithful people need leaders to protect them from their own sense of obligation. And this is where you widen your view. You don't just think about the church parking lot, you think about the back roads that never get treated, the hills, the curves, and shaded spots where ice sticks around. People who drive older vehicles. Folks with limited visibility during night or dark times. And families who would have to load kids up in a hurry. So here's a question that helps. What message will our decision send to the most vulnerable among us? If we push forward, will someone hear, if you love Jesus, you'll show up no matter what? Even if we don't say that, people can feel it. But if we cancel with calm clarity, we're saying, we love you, and we're not asking you to risk your safety to prove your devotion. Folks, that's pastoral. And I'll add this, unity matters. If you're a worship leader, worship pastor, this is not the time to freelance leadership. You and your pastor need to be aligned. That unity is part of the care. People can handle disappointment, but they struggle when leadership seems confused or divided. Once you make the decision, the way you communicate becomes part of your ministry. Because people aren't just receiving information, they're receiving a shepherd's voice. They're listening for peace, for clarity, and care. And Scripture actually speaks to this. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33 says this, since God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. Clear, calm communication reflects the character of God. Confusing, rushed, last-minute, vague messages tend to create anxiety, and anxiety spreads fast, especially on Sunday mornings when people are already trying to figure out what to do. So here's what I've learned. The goal isn't just to announce a cancellation. The goal is to pastor people through it. That means your tone matters. A cancellation message shouldn't sound like, sorry, I guess we have to, or if you're spiritual, you'll still tune in. Or even, some of y'all are going to complain, but no, that's not shepherding. A pastoral message sounds like, church family, we love you. We're thinking about safety. Here's the plan for today. Here's how we'll still worship together. It's calm, it's clear, and it's caring. And use your channels like tools of love. Put it on your website, because guests will probably check there. Your social media, many folks will see it faster on there. Use your all calls, your all texts, because some people won't see social media at all. And if you live stream, make it simple and welcoming. One of the things I appreciated about how we handled December 14th is that communication wasn't a one-shot message. It was layered. It was posted the night before. Key teams were texted and called, and then an all-church message in the morning. That's not overkill. That's care. Because confusion can keep people awake. Clarity lets them rest. Okay, here's the part I really want to slow down on. Because I think it's where leaders either find freedom or stay trapped in guilt. And here it is. The church is not canceled when a building is closed. The gathering might be canceled. The building might be empty. The parking lot might be quiet. But the church, the people of God, still belongs to Jesus. The early church in Acts 2 didn't depend on a building. They gathered in homes. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to breaking bread, and to prayer. Their worship wasn't fragile. It was rooted. Jesus says in Matthew chapter 18, verse 20, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there among them. That's not a sanctuary-only promise. And then over in Psalm chapter 46, verse 1, it says, God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble. Sometimes the refuge God provides is wisdom. Sometimes it's a safe decision. Sometimes it's the peace of knowing you can worship at home without guilt. And here's what I love. When a family opens scripture in their living room, that's worship. When a couple prays together because they couldn't make it to church, that's worship. When a pastor and worship pastor stand in an empty room and stream worship with whatever they got, that's still worship. So if you ever feel that gnawing guilt, like we didn't really have to cancel church today, I want you to hear this. If Christ was preached, scripture was opened, prayers were offered, and hearts were turned toward Jesus, friend, the church worshiped. It may not have looked like your normal Sunday, but God is not limited by normal. If you're wrestling with this decision right now, maybe you're in that place where you've got the forecast open and you're waiting on one more update. Let me leave you with a simple encouragement. Canceling because conditions are unsafe does not make you unfaithful. It makes you a shepherd who loves people more than programs. That kind of leadership honors the Lord. And honestly, this whole conversation sets the tone for what's coming in Season 3 of Equipped for Worship. We're going to talk about loving your people well, leading wisely, and shepherding with care through ordinary Sundays and big moments and busy seasons. Season 3 officially launches Wednesday, February 4th, and I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be deeply practical and deeply encouraging, and I can't wait to walk through it with you. If this conversation helps steady your heart, share it with another worship leader or pastor. I promise you, somebody you know is staring at a radar right now. And if snow is in your forecast tonight, may the Lord give you wisdom, give you peace, and confidence as you shepherd his people. Until next time, keep loving your people well and keep pointing them to Jesus. See you in February.